How's it going, guys? It's Noir back with another video. Bit of an interesting video today. I was just thinking in my head last night. You know, I always use the Lo-Fi plugin when I'm trying to recreate old samplers. And then I was just looking through the Mpc, and I remembered they had the vintage effects. Like you can make it sound like it's an Mpc 3000 or an Mpc 60. I was wondering, I've used them in the past and I haven't really noticed much difference. So I was curious to compare those vintage effects to using the Lo-Fi plugin on the Mpc and changing the bit depth and the sample rate to match those old machines. I was interested to see which one would sound better, but definitely which one has a more significant effect was my goal there. So let's get started. I've just got two chords here. I've got nothing on at the moment. So this is what they sound like. Just two plain chords from a piano. And on the program here, I've got the Mpc 3000 vintage effect here, the Mpc 60, the SP 1200, and the Lo-Fi down the bottom here. And in the Lo-Fi plugin, I've made presets that will match the bit depth and the sample rate to those three machines. And I thought we'd do a bit of a comparison because I'm curious and I love to mess around with this stuff. So here we go. First, we'll start with the Mpc 3000. I've got the vintage effect on here. This is what it looks like. There isn't any presets up the top or anything. This plugin is pretty standard. The theory is you just chuck it on and it mimics that machine. You can't really do anything. You can't change any of the presets or anything. It has a pretty cool screen in the background. You can see all the NPCs there. That's the machine there. So I've got it on now. I'll just play the chords and see if they sound any different. Also, just before I start, I'd recommend headphones for this video. You won't really notice it too much through speakers or a phone speaker. Headphones is where it's important because of the high end. So this is what they sound like with the Mpc 3000 vintage effect. And this is without it on. I'm sort of hearing a tiny bit of like frizzle in the top end, just a tiny amount, nothing crazy. So let's turn this off and we'll go turn on the Lo-Fi plugin, and just in the settings I've made here, Mpc 3000. So you can see the Mpc 3000 is a 16-bit machine and the sample rate's usually a 44.1 kilohertz, but I couldn't get the 0.1 to come up. I was holding shift to micro adjust and it goes to 0.2 or 0. So I figured just go a little bit less because that should emphasize it a little bit more anyways. So this is on, so let's have a go here. Just to confirm as well, I'm not using the envelope or the LFO that's in the second screen here. So let's turn it off and listen to it without. It's definitely more noticeable with the Lo-Fi plugin. I thought that might be the case. Let's try it with a different machine. So we'll turn the Lo-Fi plugin off. Mpc 60 vintage effect here. And I've turned it off. And back on. You can definitely hear it in the first chord that the high end is a little bit more frizzly. It's a bit more obvious. I'm curious what they've actually done to achieve these vintage effects. When I do it in the Lo-Fi plugin, it sounds much more enhanced. So let's turn this off, turn on the Lo-Fi plugin again, and just in the settings at the top here, Mpc 60. It's a 12-bit machine. Usually it sits at 40.2 kilohertz, but I've got it at 40.1 because I couldn't get it on 0.2. So let's listen to it here. First without again. And with it on. Very significant difference between the vintage effect and the Lo-Fi plugin. I wonder if that's because the Lo-Fi plugin is made to get these vintage artifacts. That's why it's enhanced so much. I'm not too sure, but very different. Very different. I think with the vintage effects, it's not as noticeable. It's meant to be more realistic. I don't really know. But I'm pretty sure we'll hear it in the next one. If I turn this off and go out, the SP 1200. There's also a different version that uses the SP 1200 and it has ring next to it, which adds a bit of ring modulation, gives it that really frizzly top end. So the SP1200. I love the design of these plugins. I love the way they make it look. So let's turn it off first. This is without. And this is with it on. You definitely notice in the high end, it's still not as drastic as the lo-fi plugin though. I'm actually going to replace it with the ring one. So this is with the SP1200 ring vintage effect. Now that's very noticeable. That's a very noticeable difference. That ring modulation really comes through heavy. I love how they took the same artwork and just made it like blue and yellow. That's pretty cool. Anyways, let's turn that off. Turn on the lo-fi plugin and we'll head to the SP1200 setting I made. It's a 12-bit machine and the sample rate is at 26 kilohertz. This is what it sounds like without the plugin. This is what it sounds like with the plugin on. I actually think that it sounds not as harsh as the vintage effect, which is interesting. But definitely the SP1200 flat in the lo-fi plugin compared to the vintage effect. The lo-fi plugin definitely sounds more enhanced, but the ring one sounds heavy. Anyways, what did we learn today? That the lo-fi plugin is much stronger and much more noticeable in every aspect. It's really interesting. I've always wondered that. I'm not sure if the vintage effects are meant to accomplish something in particular. Are they meant to sound like the actual machine and that's why it's not as noticeable? Whereas the lo-fi plugin is just meant to mimic the lo-fi sound, so you want it to be noticeable. I'm not really too sure. There's a very big difference when you match the bit depth and the sample rate of the machine and compare the two. I don't know. I might do a quick Google and see if I can find out what they're going for with the vintage effects. So it looks like, based on the research I did, the vintage effects combine a few things. A bit of compression, a bit of ring modulation, and they also try to match the sample rate and the bit depth of the machines as well. But it's very subdued. It's a very minor change. I mind the darkness. The sun's just gone behind some clouds and it's really dark here. But anyways, yeah. So the lo-fi plugin is much more controllable and much more evident when you use it compared to the vintage effects. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.